this is also the corrosion that was under the bottom of the fender cap. So now he will, you know, manufacture that piece.
You see, about 1.5 inches, you know, backward, because this one was like, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the piece.
This is in front of that.
Yes, and that's the piece we have to replace it. Either this looks clean, but to make it 100% sure and get rid of all this corrosion, I mean, we took all this off, and you know, we're gonna replace with a brand new, you know, piece of metal, and you know, heavy thickness too.
Yeah, it's gonna be thicker. It's gonna be more stronger. It's gonna be stronger
than you know
what it was from the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah. Way to go. Yeah.
Look at these holes. You see these holes? They were like this. The whole top was like this. You know, were holes like this, and they filled they filled them with a bondo. That's a bondo right there. So I have to weld all these holes. The whole side will be straight, nice, solid, everything. This guy is gonna look good, man. We're building them the right way.
First off, we strip it to the metal, number one, to make sure, hold up, Red, to make sure there's no corrosion. You know, a lot of times, like on Mr. Lofton's car, once we stripped it to the metal, we seen that it not only wasn't any metal there, you know, they had chicken wire there to build a fender off of with bondo and stuff. So you can investigate it by stripping it to the metal. This is the purest form of body work. The bad thing about stripping it to the metal is gonna show any fixes that was fixed previously. Let's say if it was a dent in this area here, you could see was dented. Well, Red is going to use the stud gun to pull it out. He already got some of it out, but he's still going to pull it more out with the stud gun. So a lot of shops, when they get a car in, to bypass this step, a low spot I could just fill with bondo and block it, and we're done with it. The right way to do it is to actually pull it out, and then you will use less bondo in preparation of paint, which is going to give you a more quality finish. However, it does take a lot more time to do it this way than the other way. So you have to keep that in mind, you know, when you're considering things as well too. So like I tell some of our customers, our prices are not necessarily going to be the cheapest price point out, but the way that we go about doing it, we have a lot more hours in it to kind of get that high quality look. So definitely want to showcase just this step. You know, this is the 73 that we're doing for Alabama. As you can see, we already got quarters on it, but as we always say, any work that's going to be done to it need to be done on the car. So if we see any deviations in between the metal, we could fix it. If we was to take this fender off and repair this right here, and we got to weld something in, once it meet a new panel, it might be off a little, like it was on D-car. The fender was extended, what, about 1 inch? You know, so yeah, so things like that have to be test fitted first. But when you put everything back together, the finished product of everything look amazing. When somebody was, you know, trying to say, hey, why are you putting the car together twice? Are you trying to, you know, overcharge the guy for trying to keep putting the car together to check it and fix it? And we was like, hey man, when you bring new parts, you got to make sure all the gaps are lined up prior to paint. Once you paint it, you're done. You know, the options of fixing it is slim to none. Like, you have to just maybe adjust it, but wherever you get it close enough, that's what you got to accept. The benefit of putting everything together previously, as we explained to the customers, now, you know, GM back in the day was okay with the 1/16 of an inch gap. You know, if you could see, that's pretty much what that is. But it's smooth here, you know, and it's smooth here. You know, only way to make this perfect is if you was to fill it with body filler and block it smooth. You know, like you seen us do on TY car. header panel, everything, same treatment. We just haven't got to it yet. Strip it, find any flaws, fix it. Also make sure all of the lines are together. And you have to take it apart, like Red was talking about earlier, to be able to sand all of the old paint off. You know, sometimes we done had issues where old paint reacted. Nothing that we did wrong, it's just the old paint reacted to the new paint. Another reason why you, like you say, longevity, stripping it to the metal, you know, you actually don't have a better quality product like that. But it's more time. Every dent mark we have to fix. Now that probably was fixed in 1980. This probably was fixed in 1990. This probably was fixed in 2000. Well, once we strip it to the metal, we got to refix everything. You know, I'm real hard on Red because he's so good at what he do. And sometimes when somebody good at what they do, you want to push him to even be better. You know, so I always get on him if it's something that I don't like, that's not up to my standard. But when he also does a great thing, you have to highlight it. You know, you really got to highlight it. So, and I know because I've seen cars on the street that had the bigger rims and they cut the fender to fit the bigger rims, but you can look at the cut and you notice, you obviously know they had to cut it because you fit a 30-inch wheel on a BMW, but you can see it. So this was a trifecta. This was a hat trick for Red. Number one, we had corrosion in the piece where we had to make a patch panel. Some vehicle fenders, they like my Cadillac, they actually make a patch panel for this fender. Well, you have a slope inside the curvature of the car, if you notice that. So the patch panel, my guy, you see, that's why I love him so much. You know, this was the piece that was here, and it obviously had the corrosion, the rot, and it would have continued to grow. So the best thing, we cut it out, start with a new piece of metal. The second part of it is the only way you really can notice it is like, is a telltale sign. Is when you see this red weld through primer, that was to protect any new metal that we welded in where any corrosion won't start on it. But if you look at the arc of the wheel well, you still have all of the J-nuts, all of the provisions for the wheel well molding still there in the factory location. But if you do a little research, if you know this vehicle, the body mount location actually slopes out this way. So we save you about 1.5 inches in the front for wheel clearance. But when you bolt the wheel tub in and the body moldings, you won't even tell the difference. It's gonna look all like factory, you know. So what he had to do was, he followed the same thing that Mr. Rich did to T-Wise, basically measured everything off and just recreated the same thing. So we repaired the rusted area. We had to hand fabricate the piece of metal for the outside of the fender patch. We also bought the wheel well back 1.5 inches, and we still retained the factory bolt location, and we gave you 1.5 inches of clearance in the rear, which is where you're going to run into with the 26. So now you have a better steering clearance rotation when you steer your car. Third thing, I want to highlight what he did. You've seen him with the stud gun. Justin called it the acupuncture method. That's what it looks like. But the stud gun got, you know, most of the low spots out of the fender. So if we just run the camera on look at the lines of the car. It almost looks as if you've done body work to the fender. You actually haven't completed the body work. He did a form of body work, which was a stud gun, pulling out the low spots. But now you go in and you do any deviations with a little bit of bondo. The whole point of pulling out those low spots is to have as least amount of bondo on the car as possible. That's the whole point, to where now you got a better finish. It's less bondo on the car, where now you have a sleek, smooth, no waves, and that's what it is. So he put it in a etching primer, basically to protect the metal. He's going on the other side, as you can see. He's repeating the process to that side. Once we get the metal where we wanted it, we get it stripped to the metal to make sure there's no corrosion on it. Up here in the fender marker light area, you can see it was dented pretty bad. He got much of the structure pulled out, and now we can go in, body work is smooth, and it'll be perfect, you know. So that's phase 2 of body working. It's kind of like metal shaping, what you've seen him doing with the stud guns. But I definitely like the fit and finish. I definitely want to give him a hug, pat on the back, just how clean it came out. And this is all prior to body work. Once you paint it, once the molding goes on, it's going to look amazing. And we still didn't have to wait. A lot of times we got to wait, put the suspension on, make sure everything is lined up. But being that we know we're going with 26s, which is the same thing we did on the other cars, we already know the measurement, so we can go ahead with the process. When you put those big rims, the 26s and 28s and bigger on cars like this, they were designed for a 15-inch wheel, you know, not a 26. So the bigger diameter, you don't have enough adjustment in your alignment to stand that tire flat even. So they have different adjustable trailing arms that'll give you more camber to adjust that taller tire. That's the benefit. Not only the suspension coilovers, the adjustable height and settings of a coilover to dial the suspension in, you also have the benefit of additional camber of aligning the tire when you're going with a bigger tire, being that the geometry of the suspension wasn't designed for a 32-inch tall tire.
Look how it was. So this car was smashed, was hit. It was about like 3-inch or maybe 2.5 inch bondo. Look how crispy the door is. I mean, no line, nothing.
You can see work that they did. They drilled the holes and pulled it out, you know, to repair a hit, obviously, that happened here. And you know, you see all of the bondo in the holes and everything, so we got to get all of that out, straighten the metal out. Red was thinking that just making a panel would be easier, you know, make a piece that actually just replaces, you know, up under the hole here, you know. Now he's about to put a little etch and prime on it to protect the metal from any new corrosion coming, and then he can go, you know, by section. Obviously it's rushed here, you know. After both sides we had to make the panels here on the fenders. The door on that side was good on the exterior, but you see here is bad. So this is why we leave everything together to where we can make this panel and make sure everything is still flush. Sometimes I ask him like, damn man, I touched it right here. He said, no, you're good, I'm gonna wipe it down before, you know. Because like if you know, your fingerprints or anything has moisture in it, and if you leave it, tomorrow you'll see your handprint in the door, you know. We rocking, man, in the cold. 46 degrees in Florida.
Here's the part, you see? It's already started corroded anyway, so the best thing to do, you know, to fix that door is like, you know, put new piece. What new piece? I'm gonna prime this before put the new piece. You know, clean this area, make it look good. You know, spray some primer to avoid the corrosion coming back in the area. If you look at the gap right here, is wider than the top and the bottom. I'm gonna try to pull this, you know, that side, and make it look, you know, make the gap look straight, make a new piece, and weld it. And that's it. Stay tuned.